yẹ kí n sọ tinú mi fún ìyàwó ẹ̀ yẹn o sórí ẹ̀ tí ẹ̀ burú níná kí ló fi mí pè náà ṣé o ṣàlàyé fún o sọ fún ní pé èmi gangan ló lórí ẹbí inú ilé ibi tó wà yẹn ni ṣé kò mọ̀ pé èmi ni mo sanwó inú ilé tóun sùn tóun jí yẹn ni ṣé kò mọ̀ pé èmi lèmi ń bọ̀ ni àtòun àtàwọn ọmọ tó bí fún ẹ ṣé kò mọ̀ pé èmi ni mò ń bọ̀ yín ni.
Welcome back, fellow movie lovers. Today, we dive deep into Irotojumi, a gripping Yoruba drama that's packed with secrets, shifting loyalties, and high-stakes consequences that come with every choice we make. This story is not just about love, betrayal, and power. It's about the consequences of decisions, the manipulation of trust, and the price we all pay for our actions. If you enjoy character-driven plots that delve into the complexities of relationships and moral dilemmas, then grab your popcorn because this one's going to keep you on the edge of your seat. As always, don't forget to check the pinned comment for discussion topics and translation help. Make sure you like and subscribe for more deep dive Yoruba recaps. The story opens with tension right away. A phone call that throws Bayode off balance just as he's rushing to an important meeting. The weight of the day presses down on him. His phone rings and we see his expression shift. It's Aralola. She's upset. Her voice shakes with frustration as she demands to know why he's been avoiding her, why he hasn't made any time for her in days. "You keep making excuses," she exclaims. "I need you now. Talk to me, Bayode." Bayode, in a distracted haze, tries to explain, but he's already in too deep. He's late for his meeting, and this call is nothing but an interruption. "I can't talk now, Aralola. It's a very important meeting," he says, his voice cold and indifferent. Aralola doesn't take kindly to being brushed off. Her frustration boils over into heated Yoruba. With sharp words, she warns him, "Don't try me. I'm not someone you can take for granted." But instead of reflecting on her pain, Bayode does the unthinkable. He hangs up on her and rushes off, leaving her fuming and the unresolved argument hanging in the air. On screen is subtitle, Lola's Yoruba warning, translates to, "Don't try me. I'm not someone you can take for granted." But if Bayode thought that hanging up would end the drama, he's wrong. When he finally meets with Aralola, the atmosphere turns from warmth to heartbreak in an instant. The two share some light moments, laughter and warmth in their conversation. But then, Bayode drops a bombshell that changes everything. "I can't do this anymore. I'm done with this relationship." Aralola is shaken, her eyes widening in disbelief. She demands an explanation, her voice trembling with emotion. Why is he suddenly pushing her away after everything they've been through? Then, with a calm yet forceful voice, Aralola reveals something that rocks Bayode to his core. She's pregnant with his child. Bayode's world shatters. This isn't just a fling. It's a future he never planned for. This confrontation marks the beginning of a storm that will sweep through Bayode's life. That night, Bayode faces the other half of his double life. Sitting across from his wife, Atirola, he does not even try to soften the blow, and the truth spills out. Bayode, with reluctance, finally admits it. "I've been seeing someone else, and there's a pregnancy involved." At this revelation, Atirola's fury is unleashed. It's not just the betrayal that stings. It's the emotional coldness from Bayode that cuts her deeper. He's telling her this like it's a business transaction, not a marriage. She demands that he show some remorse, at least acknowledge the hurt he's caused her. The argument becomes increasingly heated, with both of them switching between English and Yoruba, their voices rising in frustration. Atirola, refusing to accept Bayode's apathy, tells him in no uncertain terms that he must break up with Aralola. There can be no more hesitation, but secrets don't stay hidden for long. The very next day, Aralola blocks Atirola on the street, setting off a confrontation that Bayode can't control. At first, Atirola keeps her cool, but soon the gloves come off. She calls Aralola shameless, accusing her of being a home wrecker. She mocks her audacity, questioning how Aralola could even think to demand respect from her after what she's done. The verbal attack is relentless. Aralola, not one to back down, tries to defend herself, her anger flaring as she tells Atirola that Bayode never truly belonged to her. He was never truly faithful. The two women go back and forth, each one staking her claim. The tension is so thick you can almost taste it. Bayode, attempting to mediate, is ignored by both women as their voices rise in Yoruba-filled arguments. The showdown ends with no resolution. Each woman stands firm, her pride and emotions tied tightly to the man they both love. Neither is willing to give up, and the battle rages on. After the explosive confrontation, the story shifts to a more reflective moment. Aralola, emotionally drained, sits with the young herbalists she's known from her school days. They reminisce about the past, but the mood soon turns serious as Aralola lays out her troubles. She tells the hymn about Bayode's betrayal, her pregnancy, and her desire for revenge. She wants him to pay for what he's done to her. She won't just sit idly by while her life is turned upside down. The herbalist listens patiently and then offers her a plan. For 150,000 naira, he will ensure that Bayode's life is utterly overturned. The price is steep, but Aralola is desperate. She agrees to the deal, knowing that her life can't return to normal until she makes Bayode feel the pain he's caused her. The pace picks up again as we move to a more professional setting. Bayode, feeling accomplished after his meeting, walks into his office with a smile on his face. He pulls out some documents, and after a brief exchange with the manager, they confirm everything is in order. The manager proceeds with the transaction, and the two shake hands. "Congratulations," the manager says with a smile. "God bless you." Bayode, pleased with his success, heads out of the office. But just moments later, something strange happens. He rushes back into the same office, apologizing for being late, saying he was stuck in traffic. He asks to sign his paperwork, but the manager and assistant are left stunned. "You just left here a few minutes ago," the assistant says, looking at him like he's lost his mind. They insist he signed the documents already, but Bayode insists he hasn't been there all day, and that's when the confrontation begins. "Are you playing with us?" the manager asks, growing increasingly suspicious. "These are my documents. Security is called." The situation spirals as the staff accuses him of forgery. They show a photo of someone who looks just like him leaving the office. Bayode's head spins. Either someone impersonated him, or something much darker is at play here. The situation turns from bad to worse when the confrontation takes a legal turn. Bayode, now desperate, refuses to settle out of court. "I'll countersue," he declares, convinced that this is all part of a larger plan to frame him. He believes this is a planned war. The office, however, has its own version of events. They present what they claim is irrefutable evidence against him. The argument grows heated, the tension shifting between English and Yoruba. Bayode claims that the person in the video only resembles him, but no one believes him. His sister and brother-in-law both urge him to pay and get out before the legal costs get worse. But Bayode is convinced it's a setup, a conspiracy to destroy him. We see as Folabi, Kayode's friend, suggested a simpler cure. "Let's go and see Aralola and apologize her. Not because a word fixes betrayal, but because refusing to say it hardens hearts." Kayode bristles. "He'll talk like adults," he says. But that word, sorry, isn't in his tradition. Pride rebrands itself as principle. Meanwhile, Aralola is done. In a heartfelt outburst, she recalls how much of herself she invested. Time, money, and love, all wasted on a relationship that went nowhere. I don't have time to waste anymore, she says. I've moved on. I found my own path. Her frustration boils over as she questions why he wasted her years and mocked her sacrifice. Though hurt, she resolves not to let this define her future. She hints she's with someone new and urges him to accept that she has turned the page. Coyote tries to approach Aralola one last time. He says he just wants to have a mature conversation. She listens but remains firm. She has no interest in rekindling anything. She cuts him off. I've moved on. No hard feelings, but don't come back, she tells him. She urges him to accept that their time is over, while he struggles to let go. The tone shifts sharply as we enter a lively comedic interlude. Bayode and his wife, Atola, desperate for answers, seek out a so-called prophet. But this is no ordinary prophet. Before Bayode even has a chance to explain his troubles, the prophet cuts him off dismissively. You're trying to say your problem? Only baby prophets need that, he says proudly. I am a field marshal prophet, a divine communicator who can solve your problems without breaking a sweat. Without hesitation, he launches into a bizarre menu of spiritual offerings. He offers everything from point and kill, fish sacrifices, to spiritual cleansers designed to ward off evil spirits. Bayode and Atirola exchange confused glances as the prophet talks about 7-day continuous fasting rituals, his words rapid and jumbled as he lists prices with lightning speed. If you want the fasting ritual to work, I will participate, the prophet declares, but it'll cost you 30,000 naira per day of fasting. If not, it's 100,000 naira, and I won't even bother with it. Then, after a dramatic pause, he adds, but for you, I'm offering a spiritual discount of 10,000 naira, bringing the total to 300,000 naira. Atirola, seemingly calm, yet with a calculating look in her eyes, pushes Bayode to agree. We have no other choice, she whispers to him, nudging him to hand over the money. The prophet continues his prayer preparations, though Bayode remains skeptical. The prayer begins with chants and strange movements filling the room. But just as the prophet is about to invoke a greater force, a group of witches suddenly appears, emerging from the shadows. They begin slapping the prophet and causing utter chaos. The prophet, who moments ago had seemed so confident, immediately retreats, shouting, "Hold the balance. Keep your 300,000 naira," as he flees from the room. Bayode and Atirola are left in stunned silence. Their last hope for spiritual help has only resulted in more confusion and disorder. The situation seems to be spiraling out of control, and Bayode begins to wonder if he'll ever be free of this torment. After the failed spiritual intervention, Bayode finds himself at his uncle's house, trying to make sense of everything. As he walks in, he apologizes for being late. His uncle, however, isn't impressed by the excuse. "Traffic again?" his uncle says, raising an eyebrow. "Bayode, this is becoming a regular thing. You've already been here this morning and taken the money." Bayode's heart skips a beat. His mind races as his uncle insists that he's already given him the money earlier. "You were here this morning, and now you're coming back with the same story." Bayode freezes. This isn't possible. He hasn't been here this morning, or has he? This entire day seems to be repeating itself, and the confusion grows. Something is terribly wrong. I don't remember taking the money, Bayode mutters, struggling to process this situation. His uncle, clearly becoming annoyed, says, Bayode, you're losing it. I'm not going to stand here and watch you fall apart. It suddenly dawns on Bayode. What if someone has been impersonating him, playing tricks with his life? The realization that his identity is being used against him begins to sink in. This is exactly what happened at the office. Bayode shouts, his stomach sinking. Feeling confused, Bayode's brother-in-law takes them to a cleric for help. Kayode explains everything to the best of his ability. How his life has spiraled out of control. The accusations of forgery, the financial ruin, and the strange events that seem to haunt him. The cleric listens carefully, his face remaining impassive. After a long silence, he speaks softly. We need to call upon the divine for clarity. But be patient. I will call you later tonight after I have prayed on this. Only then will the truth be revealed. Bayode, though still unsure, agrees to return. His mind is a whirlwind of confusion, and he wonders if the cleric's prayers can help him find the answers he so desperately needs. As Bayode leaves the cleric's house, he can't shake the feeling that this journey is leading him somewhere darker than he ever imagined. He hopes that the truth will finally reveal itself soon. Aralola, however, is not done yet. She returned after Bayode, and the brother-in-law have left. I know you saw me while you were praying, Aralola says to the cleric, her voice chilling. A sharp, commanding voice cuts through the air. Aralola appears seemingly from nowhere, her presence like a storm. She tells the cleric, you can't help him, she says, her voice sharp but controlled. You're not going to intervene. This is my fight, and I will handle it. He's my husband, and I'll deal with him in my own way. Don't meddle in what's not yours. Her words are laced with a sense of finality that sends a chill down the cleric's spine. Her actions deliberate and cold. The story takes another bizarre turn as Bayode and Aralola visit an herbalist. This man is known for his eccentric ways and cryptic speech. His advice is often wrapped in riddles, meant to confuse as much as it enlightens. If you want to live, the herbalist says to Bayode, we must carry a huge sacrifice. Only then will the spirits be appeased. Aralola, appearing only to the herbalist, warns him not to help them, not to intervene in their situation. Don't take this case. Let them go without your assistance, she advises in a low voice. The herbalist, however, is stubborn. He insists that he must complete the ritual, despite Aralola's warning. He goes ahead, preparing the sacrifice. But as he proceeds, something unexpected happens. He's ambushed by a group of witches who appear out of nowhere. They force him to eat the sacrifice on the spot. And within moments, the herbalist is driven mad. The lesson here is clear. Anyone who dares stand against Aralola will pay a heavy price. The consequences are far worse than anyone could imagine. Just when Bayode thinks things can't get worse, they do. Debt collectors arrive at his door with paperwork, accusing him of taking out a loan and using his house as collateral. Bayode, in complete disbelief, insists that he never signed any loan documents. There's no way I took a loan, Bayode says, panic setting in. Someone's impersonating me again. The collectors, however, are relentless. They present loan documents and make it clear that Bayode's house will be seized unless the debt is settled. Desperation takes hold. Bayode realizes that these events, the signature fraud, the fake loan, are all linked. He feels like he's trapped in a nightmare that he can't escape. Fortunately for them, Bayode's sister arrived at that moment. She offers a temporary solution. She invites Bayode and Aralola to stay with her for a while until they figure out their next steps. After the unsettling encounter, Bayode and his sister go to see the prophet at his church. They are desperate for answers and hope that the prophet, who has a reputation for his spiritual power, might shed some light on the bizarre circumstances. The prophet, a man of many claims, begins speaking in his usual riddles. But just as Bayode begins to explain his situation, an apprentice approaches the prophet urgently. "There's a visitor," the apprentice says. Then, as if by fate, the visitor is Atirola. Her presence is commanding, and her eyes lock with the prophet as he approaches her. The tension in the room is palpable. "I know you're a true man of God," she says, her voice laced with power. "But you should not intervene in this. This is my fight, and I will deal with it in my own way." The prophet is taken aback by her words. "But your husband, he is suffering. He needs guidance." Atirola's eyes flash, but her voice remains calm. "I said no. You cannot involve yourself in this. I will handle everything. This is between me and him." Her words carry the weight of someone who holds all the cards. The prophet, looking both perplexed and resolute, sighs. "I cannot stand by and watch him suffer. I will speak to him. I will tell him to apologize to you." Atirola's smile is icy as she responds. Bayode does not apologize. It's not in his nature to apologize to any woman, let alone to me. She looks at the prophet with mockery in her eyes. "Tell him whatever you want, but you will never change him. It's too late for that." The prophet pleaded with her that upon their return, he would speak to Bayode and tell him to apologize. After being asked to apologize, Bayode refuses. His sister insists that Bayode should just apologize to Atirola, that it's the only way to end the tension and stop the cycle of destruction. "Just say it, Bayode," she urges. "It's just a word. There's no shame in admitting you're wrong." But Bayode refuses. "I don't do that. I don't apologize. It's a matter of principle," he says, his voice cold and firm. "Saying sorry would mean admitting weakness, and that's something I can't do." His sister sighs, frustrated. "You're making it harder on yourself. A simple apology might be the only way to fix this." Bayode's pride is a wall that refuses to come down. His belief in his own righteousness blinds him to the reality of his situation. Even though he knows his marriage is crumbling, he is too proud to take the first step toward healing. In a flashback, we see Atirola and her fellow witches gathered in a dimly lit room. She speaks with urgency, her voice steady with ambition. "I need help," she says. "I need good things for Bayode. We can lift him higher, make him successful. But we need your help. His success will be my success." The witches nod in agreement, and Atirola's tone becomes even more resolute. "Help me end the poverty in our lives. His happiness will be my happiness, and we will rise together." But as they perform the rituals, Bayode's mistreatment of Atirola grows more apparent. He shouts at her, breaking things around the house, pouring water on her in a fit of rage. The mistreatment piles up, each event more destructive than the last. The final straw is when Bayode admits his infidelity. "I've slept with someone else," he says, his words nonchalant and devoid of remorse. "And she's pregnant." Atirola watches with a cold, calculating gaze. "So, this is how you repay me? After everything I've done for you?" she asks, quietly, her heart breaking. The flashback ends with Bayode utterly shocked that the root of all this problem has been the same person, helping him look for a solution. He goes on his knees begging out Atirola to forgive him, that he did not suddenly become like this. A flashback takes us to Bayode's childhood, where we see how his mother mistreated his father. His father, beaten down by her emotional cruelty, never stood up for himself. Bayode grew up watching this, internalizing the idea that apologizing made someone weak. He never learned the value of humility or admitting wrongdoing. This foundational lesson from his childhood shapes who Bayode is today, the man who cannot apologize, the man whose pride is his greatest downfall. In the final moments, Bayode is presented with an opportunity for redemption. He's awarded a contract worth hundreds of millions of naira, professional success that he's worked so hard to achieve, and he celebrates with his wife and family. In the end, Irotojomi is more than just a story of betrayal and witchcraft. It's a mirror reflecting pride, choices, and the scars they leave behind. Bayode may have gained the world, but at what cost? His silence, his stubbornness, and his refusal to bow to humility turned love into war and blessings into curses. And that's what makes Irotojomi so powerful. It forces us to ask, when pride meets consequences, who really wins? If you've been gripped by this recap, don't just stop here. Share your thoughts below. Do you think Bayode deserves redemption, or is this the end of his road? I'd love to hear your take. And of course, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next deep dive into Yoruba cinema. Until next time, remember, every secret has a price.